Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Saturday Morning Mastermind. I'm Samantha Studebaker Carl, your host. I'm broadcasting to you live from beautiful Southwest Georgia. I'm here with my good friends Christina, Dan, Donna, Catherine, and hopefully Jason and Danielle are going to jump on today. Sandy is up in New York City doing some kind of an event, so good luck, Sandy. I hope that goes well for you. And we are starting a new book today. I know for those of you who haven't been, or for those of you who've been watching out for us, we haven't been on for a couple of weeks because we kind of took a break in between the books that we're studying. The last book was How to Win Friends and Influence People in the Digital Age. And but now we're starting a new book, What to Say When You Talk to Yourself by Shad Helmstetter. And this one talks about powerful new techniques to program your potential for success. But before we get going with that, I want to have everybody just take a moment and introduce yourself. So for those of you who are watching, oh yeah, before we get going, for anybody who is watching this, it's possible that this video has been shared in multiple places throughout the web. So in order for you to participate in the conversation, you must go to SaturdayMorningMastermind.com. That will bring you to our main event page where I'll be able to see your comments. And then, of course, if you need to watch from a mobile device, you can watch directly on YouTube. There'll be a link. I'll post that link again just so everybody can see it. And while I'm doing that, then everybody jump out and just kind of share who you are, where you're from, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'll jump out. Good morning, everyone. This is Dan Smith. I live in Boise, Idaho, and we've got an absolutely gorgeous day shaping up here. So anyways, thank you for coming today, and look forward to the call.
Good morning, everyone. This is Jason Roberts in Tampa, Florida, St. Petersburg area. And it's great to be here, great to be back, and looking forward to the discussion.
Morning, everybody. This is Christina Irvin in Northeast Tennessee, and it has been a long vacation. It's good to be back.
Yes. Good morning, Donna. I'm sorry, Catherine. Sorry. I was over there typing. I'm multitasking. Good morning, everyone. Donna Allen, Raleigh, North Carolina. Good to be back. Hello, everybody.
Good morning, everyone. I was sort of typing too because I had welcomed some people on the page and then realized I didn't welcome a whole bunch of other people. So welcome, everyone. It's so good to see you. It's good to be back, and it's good to start a new book. I'm excited. I'm here in Boulder, Colorado, by the way. Awesome. Thanks, guys. We got everybody, right? Yeah, okay. I thought so. I thought I was listening correctly. So let me just jump over to the page real quick and welcome everybody who's hanging out with us this morning. Let's see here. I'm going to scroll down. Welcome, Julia. Sandy, good to have you. Dan, welcome, welcome. Fabiana. Jay Dwala, welcome, welcome. Everybody who's hanging out with us, I'm so glad to have you on with us this morning. It's good to be back. It's good to be back. We just love doing this hangout. And for those of you who are brand new, if you haven't watched this before, every week, well, except for the past couple of weeks because we took a break, but every Saturday morning we get together and we study different books that can help us have more success in our life, that can help you in the personal growth arena, have better relationships with your family, with your coworkers, just in general help you improve yourself so that you can have the most success in your life. And so, what I want to go ahead and do with this book, since we're just starting a new book, I wanted to just kind of read a little bit from the beginning of this first chapter, and then we can kind of discuss some of the questions that it poses in here. So at the beginning it says, you know what? You are everything that is. Your thoughts, your life, your dreams come true. You are everything you choose to be. You are as unlimited as the endless universe. And isn't that a powerful thing to think about? Is that we are as unlimited as the endless universe, and that is something that we are all striving for. But I want to just read a little bit more out of here. It says, We've all heard what life is supposed to offer: endless opportunities, the fulfillment of our dreams, and a chance to live each day in a way that brings happiness and success. Most of us want and need at least a successful job or career, a good family life, and reasonable financial security. We expect that from life. We know deep inside that we deserve our fair share, and we have every right to attain it. Have you ever wondered then why things don't work out the way they should? Why we do not get from life many of the things we would like to have and know we should? Why do some people seem to be lucky while the great majority of the rest of us seem not to be? Why are some people day to day happier, more productive, more fulfilled than others? What makes the difference? Is it kismet, a kind of fate, which in some mysterious way charts our destiny and leaves us a little of the steering of our course of our life up to us? Is it the control of our lives in our hands, or isn't it? And if we can or should control our lives, what goes wrong? What holds us back? If we truly would like to do better, be the way we really would like to be, and be happier and more successful every day in every area of living, what is the wall that stands in our way? And that's kind of the question I want to pose to you guys. What do you think's a wall that, is that stands in our way? Who wants to start the discussion this morning?
I'll go on and go out there. Listen, I think literally it starts when we're young. There was a part that I actually bookmarked in the chapter. When I was young, quite young, I had a soaring imagination long before I learned that we could not do. I dreamed of doing what I knew we could. See, we start off dreaming. We start off believing we're invincible. We start off knowing that we're superheroes. We do dumb stuff like jump off of like 10-foot stuff and, get on our bicycles and jump ramps and stuff. And, we do crazy stuff. And then our parents and our aunts and our uncles and the world begins to take the dream away, to limit us. And some of it is unknowing because their parents did it to them and their parents did it to them. But in fact, it starts in our childhood. We're born with all of it available to us, truly that tabula rasa, if you will. But then, life and society and in your family and your teachers and everything, everybody starts to just slowly chip away at that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I don't blame like my parents or anything like that because they were taught from their parents. So you got a couple of different things working on you. You got your genetics, which you get from your family, and there's nothing you can do particularly about your genetics. The code, the DNA code that's already written, but. I can remember so many times when I was a little kid. My father died when I was 10 years old, and so really, when I come right down to it, I have memories that go back to the age of 3. So when you really stop and think about it, I had from basically the age of 3 when, like, I maybe became aware or something like that, aware of that I was a person, to the age of 10 that I had with my father, and so that was not that many years. When you really look at it, 7 years that he could affect my life, and yet he did. He had a tremendous amount of effect on my life, and so there were when my kids were little, there were things that I did to my kids, and I don't mean it in a mean spirit. I mean I didn't know how to raise my kids. I had never raised kids before. It's like yesterday I was a kid, and today I've got kids. You know what I mean? And so there were things that I did because I had no other example. I didn't know what to do. And so I passed on some real crap, that I feel like my family did to me, and but I'm not there again. I'm not putting 100% on my parents, I'm not saying all my failures or whatever in life. I'm not hanging that on my parents because I take responsibility for it. I am responsible for all the things that I did, and yet we're programmed. Every word that comes into your ears, everything that comes into your eyes, programs your mind, and so you have to sort through the things that you hear and that you see, and you have to ask yourself, well, do I accept this? And I mean, I can remember so many times when I was a little kid after my father died, and we'd be sitting at the supper table and eating, and I'd be sharing my grand dreams as a child, and I just remember that my mother looked right in my eyes and said, "Well, you can't do that. You can't do that." And so many things, that all this negative, in the book, in the next chapter, it talks about how many hundreds of thousands of times that you heard the word no, as a child growing up, and you can't do that. And then after a while you buy it and you begin repeating to yourself, I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do that. And it just perpetuates that programming that takes place in your mind. So what we're doing here in this book and what we're doing in life is trying to reprogram how to re-educate our minds, re-educate our tongue, re-educate our eyes, where we go with our eyes, what we listen to with our ears, in order to reprogram our lives. So I'll turn it over to somebody else.
I will say, just to piggyback off of that, and you're completely right when you say it's not intentional. Well, I mean, mostly it's not intentional that these negative things are taken away. A lot of times it's out of fear, right? You do it out of fear. You don't want your kid to feel like they don't understand what dangers are and what they aren't. So it's out of fear and thinking that you're protecting someone, that literally it ends up that you're possibly cutting off their dreamer. And then there is that not having the supplement in your life, in the personal development and everything. If I'm not always feeding myself and I try to achieve something and I don't reach the level of success that I wanted, that I desired, then I'm going to start having negative thoughts, and then I'm going to start focusing on the negative. And too often that's what happens. We focus on the negative, and quite honestly, I think I was watching a live stream of Lisa Nichols a few weeks ago, and she was saying, sometimes as a parent, we say to our kid, my kid has lost his mind, right? Well, and she said, well, then thank you. That's exactly what you did. You just put in an order to the universe. Rather than speaking in the empowered, we always dwell. We do a lot of speaking on the negative and focusing on the negative rather than finding the empowered stance in things.
I think that's a great point, Christina. When we do talk to our kids or anybody for that matter, is that when you say those kind of statements, is that you actually make them question what it is that they're doing, and of course, we have the best intentions for our family, our friends, our coworkers, or whoever it is that we're interacting with, but yet at the same time, when we say those kinds of statements, it reinforces a negative concept that isn't empowering. So that's a good statement there. Julia posted a comment on the page. Let me just jump over there real quick and read that off before we go forward. Julia says, I agree with you, Christina. Explains why it is so difficult for me as an adult to overcome the emotional challenges and how someone can easily take that dream from me. And that's so true, Julia. It's that earlier programming in our lives is what kind of comes forward with us into every aspect of our lives, and it's frustrating to think back on it and be like, gosh, if only my parents had been more positive, if only I had not, what would my world be like, right? But yet, it is what it is, and we've got to take responsibility, like Dan said, for our own existence and start creating what we want from this point forward. I think somebody else was about to jump out.
Yeah, I totally agree with you guys. I mean, it does start when we're young, and and we do need to watch out what we say to people. That it's going to make that what we say makes sense, especially in crucial moments like that. Samantha, I was just like about a week and a half ago. I was talking to my mom about all the rules we had when we were growing up, and and I told her, you know, I had all these rules about what not to do and how not to bother people and how to not talk until you're spoken to, and it's I explained to her, I'm like, you know, I grew up with with those sets of rules, but I was always waiting for another set of rules to you know, as I grew, that I could grow into, you know, that would give me more freedom, you know. And I think, you know, we talked about filters that were, um, you know, in a lot of the different discussions we had, we talked about the filters that we use. And I think that the filters uh, that a lot of us deal with that are holding us back are developed as children, because they're sort of habitual. They become habitual. You know, if I don't know if anybody can remember playing out, you know, late into the evenings, and then hearing your parents call from, you know, really far away, and your friends are like, I didn't hear anything, but oh no, I heard it. I gotta go, and you know, you just and instinctively after a while, you know, out of habit, you know, are listening for those things and recognizing those things, and it just becomes a knee-jerk reaction to go ahead and obey those rules that we grew up with as a child. But you know, those were there to protect us and keep us out of getting into situations that we couldn't handle when we were young. But as we grow up, we can handle those situations. We have better, you know, better skills to that we've developed to handle those. But if we still use those old filters, then it's keeping us away from a lot of stuff, I believe. And I totally agree with what you said, Samantha, about, you know, watching what we say when we talk to people. Um, One of my, I don't really have a whole lot of pet peeves, but I guess one of them would be that about cliches and people just using old cliches, maybe even improperly, around children. And the children hear this, and then they don't really know what it means, but they just keep hearing it and hearing it, and then they develop their own sense of what it means. And it could be completely off, and it could push them into the wrong direction or keep them from relationships and things of that nature. So you know, what we speak, you know, is very powerful. And I found that that's really one of the ways to step into my own power, is to actually speak my vision and my thoughts into the world. And by doing that, I've also realized that what I say, even sometimes the slightest things, how I say it, or maybe the tone in which I say it, can have a huge impact. And if I'm not aware of that, I can maybe have a negative impact on a relationship that I'm having, or in something that I want to develop out in the future. So yeah, this is great stuff, and you know, I guess this is the rules I've been always looking for. You know, how to talk to myself. How does the brain work? You know, how are we actually processing all this stuff, and then how do we change these filters that are holding us back? You know, so I'm really excited about this. This is great. I just got the book yesterday, but and I went through just the first the introduction and into the first chapter, and I'm really, you know, it's a little different than what I expected, so I'm really excited.
Go ahead. Yeah. Wow. Starting it off there, you know, guys, I tell you what, we can say everything everybody said. Dan started off. Everything is we you know, we start off in life and what we want to say, and I'm excited about the book. I just read the first chapter. I was reading a little bit last night at work when I was, you know, parked. You know, wow, the filters of our mind. Going back and thinking, wow, our minds are so much like the computer. You know, our minds are more powerful than the computer. I haven't really read this book yet, but like I said, over a year ago, there's a video that I almost deleted by listening to that thought process in my mind. We can't. It's not impossible to keep that blame game going on, because once we learn that we got to start like we've been doing here, working on ourselves. You know, I used to think it was a bad thing to talk to yourself, but our parents and uncles and aunts and all those good things, you know, people and cousins, whoever, you know, that what they would say to us, sometimes it was like Jason said, you said trigger. Okay, triggers. What triggers that? And then when you grow up, you start developing and start working on yourself, you find out, okay, well, where is that coming from? There it goes back to the questions. Now, y'all, I'm not going to get on a rant right here, but here go, here goes the questions again. Okay, let me stop on that one. I think you all know where I'm going with that one.
No, Donna, tell us your
Yeah.
Not everybody thinking.
We like a good rant. Go ahead, Donna. Well, since she's going to bypass, I was just going to say that, you know, so it's clear that we understand where it starts and where the negative self-talks, starts at, right? And I think that in the first chapter, he does a very good job of really just laying out where that comes from. But so now, I don't know, I'm thinking it might be effective to discuss, unless you have another question, how do you recognize it and then ways to start to come out of it? Did you have another question, Samantha, before we did that?
Just kind of. Okay. I think your microphone is picking up. Yeah, the speaker. So you get echo on yours if you're not muted out. Just as a FYI, I know you just got that new microphone, which is awesome. Congratulations on that, by the way. Yeah, I was just kind of looking through here and going, I don't know, should we ask more of these questions about what other people think? I mean, what does everybody think about where it comes from, other than, our parents? I mean, or does anybody else have any ideas on that? And but real quick before we go on, Dan's got a comment on here. Dan Sisek, he commented. Let me share what he says. He says, I know that my mom kind of did this to me when I first became an adult and want to strike out on my own. But she felt I wasn't prepared, and rather than let me go and find out for myself, she convinced me to think I wasn't ready. And I believe that was a key point that didn't help me until the last few years, as I realized that I did have it in me, but it led to a lot of years of living a lot safer than I would have in relation to me chasing my dreams. And then, oh, you found a PDF of this book? Oh, sweet. If you wanted to share that in our community, Dan, that would be awesome. And mindsetmasterycollective.com, that's our Google Plus community. If you want to share that under the resources heading or category, that's what I'm looking for, you could do that. That would be wonderful. And then I can grab it and we can share it on future Hangouts. But I think that's a great point about, when my daughter first moved out of the house, and of course she was going to college, and I was scared for her because I didn't feel like she was mature enough to make the decisions and to take care of herself in a way that I was just so fearful for her, and but for me it was I didn't keep her from doing it. I knew that in order for her to make it in this world, that she had to experience those things that are the consequences of the decisions or the lack of decisions, or all of those kinds of things, and she has matured significantly over the past few years. I've just been so very proud of her. But yeah, I was scared, and I think that as parents we all are scared for our children because we know what the world's like, and we know the consequences that can happen when you don't take responsibility and when you make mistakes and you do crazy things, and you make bad decisions and whatnot. But you got to let your kids make those mistakes, otherwise, like you said, Dan, it's like it's not gonna work. You're gonna be held back. So who else wants to jump out? Does anybody else have any thoughts on other than oops, sorry. Go ahead, jump in.
Sorry. Yeah, I think yeah, I have some other thoughts. Like literally, we then go to school, we go to high school, we go to college, and depending upon what kind of college you go to and what kind of instructors you have, thinking outside the box, having grandiose thoughts, having unique, thoughts, having a unique style, having a unique perception on the world and everything, then it's kind of like what happened when you were a young kid and you touched the hot stove. It was like hot, right? And you know not to touch the stove. Well, you come out and you say something provocative in your college course, or you go to your job and you see something very stupid about the way that you're working this job, and you decide, if I did it this way, I could get twice as much done. And just because you didn't ask permission to do that, you get scolded in some way. It's kind of like the same thing as saying, oh, that stove is hot, right? So throughout the layers as we grow, there are, for lack of better words, just institutions so ingrained, in our culture and in the world and how things work. It's like it's always been this way. So let's not do anything contrary to that,
You know what? Go ahead.
That's all right, Dan. Go ahead.
What I was thinking along the lines of was that, like when I was a kid, I had these grandiose dreams in my mind. I mean, when I go to lay down and go to bed at night, I had major motion pictures going on inside my mind, and it was so real. The detail was just amazing, So I was predominantly a right-brained person. But then as you go to school, and as they, so to speak, lay the lash across your back, it drove me from a right-brain predominant person over to a left-brain predominant person. The left brain looks at logic, it looks at language, it looks at time frames. I can't possibly get this done in the amount of time that you're giving me. That's where we go in our left brain. And that's what society wants to do, is to beat you into submission to your left hemisphere of your brain. And so the right side is the dreamer, that's the musician, that's the artist, that's the creative portion of you that thinks in pictures. It doesn't deal with language. Your left brain doesn't deal with pictures, it deals in language, so and logic. So you have this competition going on there, and part of the process is also in addition to that, you have your conscious brain, conscious thinking, and you have subconscious thinking, and things that you hear as a child, the things that we was talking about earlier, the little key phrases that your parents would maybe say to you because they were trying to protect you, they were trying to show you their love. Nevertheless, those things went down into your subconscious mind because of the repetition of thought, repetition over and over and over and over and over again. And as that sunk down into your subconscious mind, you might not even be aware of it consciously anymore, and yet it is always there, and it's always controlling the things that you do. And so, I've spent a tremendous amount of time in the last few years digging deep into my subconscious mind, and when I really get down to it, almost everything that my family taught me as a child growing up, I got to root it out and reject it. I have to water it out. I have to milk it out to the point where it no longer controls my thinking, no longer controls my life. Now, I'm not saying that everything that they taught me was wrong. They taught me how to eat. They taught me how to, to do all these things and take care of myself. But so many of the ideas that was implanted into my subconscious mind through repetition of thought when I was a child that controls my life today, I don't want there anymore. I reject it. I don't agree with it. And so it's this process of rooting those thoughts out, bringing them to the surface. And I shared this, I don't know, 6 months ago or something like that. I was doing something, I don't even remember what it was, and I had this thought just, bam, it jumped into my mind, and it was powerful. It had extreme power to it, and this thought was, you should be ashamed of yourself. And I used to hear that. My mom used to tell me that all the time. You should be ashamed of yourself, because I was always believe me, any of your parents out there, you didn't want me for your child. I guarantee you, you did not want me as a child, okay? Because I was always into something. But I was always hearing that. You should be ashamed of yourself. You should be ashamed of yourself. And I hadn't thought about that in years. Years I'd never even thought about that. And yet this powerful thought came up in my mind. You should be ashamed of yourself. You know, I just, whoa, where did that come from? Well, it was lodged deep down in my subconscious mind and things I was going through at that time and reading and studying, and this thought come up. You know, so now I had to deal with it. I had to ask myself, well, gosh, should I be ashamed of myself? You know, because believe me, like I said, I was always into something. You didn't want me as your child when I was young. So all these things that are deeply embedded. I put some links in the on the page over here, 4 different YouTube links to different videos that Bob Proctor's made. Go watch those videos. Watch them over and over and over and over again, because they will explain to you your subconscious mind and how these thoughts lodged there. So I'll turn it over to somebody else.
Hey, real quick, before somebody else jumps out, Dan, why don't you grab all those YouTube links and put them under the resources in the Mindset Mastery Collective community? That would be a great place for them. Then they'll kind of be easy for everybody to find.
Catherine, didn't you have something you were going to say?
I was just gonna, Dan, I've got you beat. I bet you I have got you beat on being an ornery child. And I may not seem like it now because I've changed a lot. But actually, I haven't changed a lot. I'm still the same person, but I got very rebellious for a long time because I didn't feel like I was being allowed to be who I am, which is a strange paradox. But anyway, yeah, you know, parenting is a very tough job. I'm a parent and a grandparent, and it's probably the hardest thing that I've ever done in my entire life. There's so many situations where you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Like there's no right way to do it. And my parents certainly, well, my parents didn't raise me. My grandma raised me, so I was 9. But poor woman, she had a heathen on her hands. But and that's what she called me, her little heathen. But you know, that was what, 51 years ago. The world, when I look at how much the world has changed, and when I look at her childhood and how she was raised and the world that she was raised in, and holy smokes, man, you're right. You know, they did the best they could. They did the best they could, and I guess maybe because I was such a rebel and I went out on my own at such an early age. I mean, I was out on my own at 12. So I discarded a lot of that stuff. Like I didn't. I'm not going to say I was always, you know, this positive minded. I went through some really dark times in my life, but I didn't. I didn't have 18 years of indoctrination like a lot of you did that stayed at home, you know, and that's a great period of time that I had control of my own mind, whereas a lot of you on the panel and many in the most in the audience, you know, were under the control of your parents, and I think it made a huge impact. And thank God I was a reader. You know, I always read. That's all I ever did as a kid when I wasn't out in a tree or on my bike or what. You know, if I wasn't outside doing something, I had my nose in a book. And interestingly enough, like in 2nd grade, I was reading Einstein's theories and stuff. And I don't know why I was drawn to that, but those are the books that I would go to the library and get. And so I guess some of the things that you know, I kind of, even as a child, I stayed in my own little world. And I think we have to realize that we're sort of all in our own little world, whether we know it or not, you know. You have complete power over what you let affect you. Yes, those things can come up. Those things that your parents said, I got that. You know, you should be ashamed of yourself a lot. Believe me, I got it on the back end of a paddle with holes in it, you know, to reinforce it, or a willow stick or something. But you know, you have the power when those thoughts come up. Sometimes, like you said, you don't know that they're affecting you, but Dan, when they come up at you like that in your face, full force power, that's perfect, you know, because that's your opportunity to overcome that in that moment. Like it will never be as that powerful again, you know, because first of all, there's nothing to be ashamed of. You know, nobody ever has anything to be ashamed of because there's no judgment. But the only thing that stops us is us. It's that voice that says you can't do that, you know. And I guess I challenged that voice early on when I heard it from other people, and I still challenge it. And you have to, you know, when you hear that, I can't, you have to say, and just talk to yourself, what do you mean I can't? You know, I'm like a magnificent creator. Of course I can do whatever I want to do. As a matter of fact, I could probably do it in 7 different ways. How can I do that? And then just ask, you know, and you will be surprised that all these multiple ways will come into your reality, but you have to claim it. You know, you have to say, no, I'm not listening to that. You know, this is my world. I'm going to create it the way that I want it to be. And then do it. You have to take action. You know, we're the only ones that stop ourselves. That's it.
I want to jump back on that real quick on what Catherine said there. You know, as parents, even today, and I would ask, if you got, you know, listen to your children. When your child is asking you a question, you know, make the time to listen to that child, because that's a lot of times what's happened is that child, the questions are already in that child's mind. They're asking that to themselves because we learn from experience. Because at any given time, you know, I heard from, which you hear these things growing up, but it's kind of like it's reinforced as you know, you grow. I don't like to say grow older, but grow younger. Let's put it that way. One of my mentors said, and I heard this before, you change the programming. You know, you change that. You defrag your mind. You know, you just clean up that clutter. It takes you. It's not going to happen instantaneously, but yet you can. You can instantly say, hey, I'm not going to change. I'm not going to think this way. You know, I'm going to change this programming. I'm going to put in a new programming, because I don't know how long it takes to clean up a computer, but it takes a lifetime to infect our mind.
So I kind of want to introduce into the discussion, because that's all really good stuff. And like, so that covers our personal. But since a large part of our audience and many of us on a panel are entrepreneurs, let's kind of take it down that business path a little bit, because it's important. See, I think the way to start the reversing that negative mind chatter is clearly to be open and to understand, to recognize the source, right? So from a business perspective, you know, maybe we can talk about a few things that trigger those negative mindsets that we need to become aware of in our businesses. For example, if you happen to have a traditional, you know, small business and you want to get started, but you want to leverage stuff like Kickstarter or something like that to fund whatever your business is, rather than going the traditional route of going to banks and getting turned down or something, and somebody telling you, no, you can't do it that way. Or maybe you're in a business opportunity, a network marketing or MLM, and because they have a system of doing things one way, for example, maybe you're in a company where they are really heavily offline prospectors and they don't value the internet, and you want to build your business leveraging the internet. And so now you become sort of like the team pariah because you're leveraging the internet to build your business, right? Or maybe you have this big grandiose idea to do something, some kind of service with your business, and you go to someone who is supposed to be a mentor, an advisor, someone that can point you in the right direction, and they tell you that you can't do it this way because it has to be done this way. It's always been done this way. And that person you're talking to has no clue of who you are. They've not taken any time to learn who you are, what your passions are, what your goals are, what your outlook on things are. They've not even taken any time to consider that they come from maybe a traditional mindset, a traditional corporate mindset, and yours is, quite opposite, right? So these are just a few things I was thinking of. I mean, I'm sure the panel has more they can throw out, but these are things to be aware of when you're growing your business that will trigger that negative chatter that now oh no, this is one of those moments, let me switch on my little shield, my little hero shield here, and not let that seep in.
I think those are some great points, Christina. Particularly well, and this kind of goes for everyone, whether you're self-employed or not. Just like who was talking about being scolded on the job? Somebody was talking about that earlier, and and I can remember when the first jobs that I had. I worked at Subway. That was one of the first jobs I ever had. I worked there for a few years when I was in high school, and I was so ambitious in that job. I mean, it just seems silly that you can be so ambitious in a little minimum wage job, but when you're a teenager, that's like you want to impress everyone. You want to be the fastest, you want to be the most efficient, you want to be the one who does the best job, you want to be everything, you want to be the one that comes up with great ideas to make the business a better place, and you have all of these grand ideas of how you can be just awesome and they should love you so much, right? And yet then we have the boss or the supervisor who is older and they're more jaded, and they they look at you and tell you you're an idiot, or you don't know what you're doing, or they don't even say anything. They don't even say thank you. They don't appreciate you, and over time that kind of starts to drag you down, right? So when you go into your next job and you're not feeling appreciated or nobody says anything nice to you, then you do less. And as you get older, it's just less and less and less. And then when you try and go on your own and be an entrepreneur, God forbid, when the rest of the world is all doing their 9-to-5 jobs running in the rat race, you're trying to break out of that. And they say something to you negative about whatever it is you're trying to do. Somebody was messaging me the other day and telling me they had just got involved with a company called Unique, which is a makeup company, a perfectly legitimate company that retails makeup. And their family members were trying to tell them that it was a scam. And it's so sad to me. I feel so strongly for these people who are just trying to have a little bit of something extra in their lives, trying to have a little bit of difference, making, just a little money on the side, trying to do a little side business. And just because it's in multi-level marketing or it's a home business, is that their family just dogs them out and tells them that they're getting scammed, and it's, and it's a horrible thing. And it's so sad. It's so sad. So, and you guys, if you're experiencing something like that, you just like we've all been saying, is you've got to be a little rebellious, Catherine was saying about just being rebellious, and pick up on and read those positive books that can help you overcome some of this BS that the people in your life are giving you, whether that is your family or whether it's even people in your company, like Christina was saying, who are set in the old school ways. I know that for a lot of people who are in some of those older companies like Tupperware or Amway, or those ones that have been around for 30 years, that they're very set in their old ways, and this new social media stuff scares them. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that it's really important. You've got to recognize, that's the key right there, is recognize that just because someone says it can't be done, or that you shouldn't be able to do it, or no, you got to keep your feet on the ground, your head out of the clouds, that you've got to recognize that for what that is. That's their programming. That's their self-doubt. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with you taking a step outside the box. I mean, we hear that all the time. think outside the box, right? But yet all the time we have people trying to pound in the nails on our box. You know, so who else wants to jump out there?
And one other thing that I wanted to add to that is to be, when you join an opportunity, if you're joining a business opportunity, be mindful of the culture of the company, and even down to understanding. And listen, I know compensation structures get a little, if you're not a green personality, that might be a little bit much for a lot of us. People like me, once we get past that first line, I'm all confused anyway. So listen, I understand that, but you need to really at least study the culture of the company, study the compensation structure, because that's going to drive the culture of the company. If you've got a stair-step breakaway, for example, then you're going to know that at some point certain people, what's up, Danielle? Good to see you, girl. Some point, there's going to be a point where, somebody's not going to be able to benefit from your production financially, and so therefore that's going to affect the compensation structure. If the company is more focused on recruiting reps rather than sharing their products and services and selling the products and services, then that is going to be a company that's going to foster the behavior of getting another person to be another number, rather than really probably being more interested in what your personal goals are in developing you as an entrepreneur and stuff. Now, I'm not saying these companies are bad. I'm not saying it's good. I'm saying that there's pros and cons in every company, and be mindful and understand where those pros and cons are, so that you can, again, inoculate yourself against all that negativity and that bad chatter that goes on.
Absolutely. Danielle just jumped on. Danielle, do you have audio and video? I can just see your picture. Are you there?
I do. Because I just woke up and I wanted to jump on, we will stay with this other picture.
Okay. That's cool. That's cool. Mostly for this discussion this week, we've just been kind of talking about some of the sources of potential negative self-talk and self-doubt, and where some of this negativity has come from. And of course, we've touched on family, and we've touched on other people in our business and life experience and that sort of thing. But do you want to jump out and share your thoughts on where you think some of the activity has come from and whatnot?
Well, yeah, a lot of it does start when we're children. In the first 7 years of our life, so much of what's wired into who we are is already in there. It's already programmed permanently. And I think that one of the reasons I love this book so much was it helps you to identify why, and help you to see the reasons you behave and think and talk and act and react to things in life as you get older, and it's multiplied by experiences throughout your life, but it stems from your early childhood for the most part, and it stems from your family, and it extends from school and your formidable years. So it carries on through, and so applying it to what we all are here for, taking that into the realm of becoming more perhaps in the networking or some kind of business where you're working with other people, or you have to perform outside of a regular job, it definitely defines itself even more. You start discovering so many wonderful things about yourself. So this book is a great way for you to start seeing that.
Danielle, I love how glamorous and happy you are as you're talking.
Well, this is me waking up. You probably can still hear the crack in my voice. I so apologize to you guys. I thought I had my alarm set, and I slept right through it this morning, and I was so excited to be on here early with the panel, and then I went and slept right through it. That tells you a lot, huh? Thank you.
It tells us you needed some sleep. Oh, sorry, Jason. Go ahead.
That's okay. I just wanted to jump on out real quick and and talk about like what Danielle was saying. And in my own perspective, I believed in myself as I was growing up, and I think we all, and like we was talking about with in the book, how we all dreamed big as a child, Um, but as we grow up, we stop dreaming, we stop believing in our dreams, and that's kind of the way our culture is set. We're we're, we grow up believing in the tooth fairy and in Santa Claus and all these things. And as we get older, we're taught, it teaches us to accept that things aren't really the way that we're taught. And we kind of lose faith in our dreams. And for me, what happened too is I was losing faith in other people and the people that I cared about. And that is something I want to bring that out because it goes along with what Christina was saying. That affects me in my day-to-day work. There's a difference between sales, selling, sales, and networking. And with networking, you have to really have a belief in people, belief that they can do what you are putting in front of them. And for me I lost faith in people because I didn't understand, because the people that I believed in didn't come through for me. And then that left a lot of questions because I didn't have anyone to give me the answers. I didn't have counsel to talk to anyone and get the answers as to why these things were happening or how I could change it. But one thing that jumped out at me when Christina was talking and with dealing with people, if you're going to ask them to do something that is good for them, that will get them the results that they want, but in the back of your mind you don't really have the belief that they will, then that will come through in your expressions or your words, and that might be one of those things that are holding us back. And so I just wanted to bring that out. Thanks.
That's a really good point, Jason. That's a really good point. That what you feel like you're not calling out, you are. I mean, I know personally in the past, it's been I can remember talking to prospects and getting done with my presentation, and I'm getting ready to go in for the close, but in my mind, I'm looking around and I'm like, oh, they don't have the money, or oh, they probably won't pay for this, and and while I'm sitting there talking, thinking, yeah, I'm real confident in this, and I'm strong, and I'm blah blah, like literally in my mind, I'm already called into the universe that I'm not getting ready to get that sale because I'm focused in on that negativity rather than focusing in on finishing my presentation and making sure that they understand how whatever I'm presenting them absolutely fixes some problems in their lives, and then that problem fixes other problems by default, right? But I'm focused on that negative, so I'm not even getting to the point of how it helps them, right? And we always think we're being positive and we didn't like this is not our fault or whatever, but I guess I say all that to say in the end we've got to own that it starts with us. Like, yeah, we were set up wrong in childhood, and all these institutions throughout life have continued to perpetuate that negative chatter. But the only way that gets broken, that pattern gets broken, is when we step up and recognize our own value, when we step up and recognize what we have to bring to the table, and we decide that we're going to set these boundaries. It starts with us, and we got to own our part of it so that we can then go ahead and everybody, you can put on me what you want to, you can try anyway, but I've got a shield around me, so you can't do that to me anymore,
Real quick, I just want to say that what I've found is by studying all this, personal development stuff, is that it's given me back my faith in people. It's given me back my belief in others. because I've realized that everyone does have the potential to do whatever they set their mind and their heart to. It's just that we're all in different stages of development. And so now I can still believe in people, and I know that they can do whatever it is that they're set out to do, and I can see it in a kind of a different frame that, they just need to do a little more work here or a little more work there, and then they will maybe open up, or maybe then they will take the action. So learning these new rules for myself has allowed me to see things differently than just, oh, well, everyone just does what they want and they don't do what they're supposed to, or, and to not have belief. It's changed it into understanding a little bit why people do what they do and why they have the walls up and those filters up, and maybe being able to shed a little bit of light on that when it might help them to get to the next stage. So, but I do have belief in people now, and it's so wonderful to have that instead of walking around this planet thinking that you can't rely on anybody. I mean, that's a really lonely existence. So, keep studying, guys, and get your beliefs back and start dreaming again. It's a wonderful thing to be able to kind of start believing that you can have those things that you wanted as a child again. So anyway, that's all I had to say there.
I want to, on my closing remark, I know we're getting top of our Samantha. Just real quick, I like what Jason's got there under his title, Breaking Down the Barriers. I've had a problem with my dog this morning, so I've just been one of those mornings. I like to say this in my closing remark: breaking down the barriers. Don't just break down the barriers. Jump over the barriers, and you can do it.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, I got a couple different programs. Jack Canfield has a program. I got a lot of different stuff by Brian Tracy, and there's others that teach this. But you have to come to the point where you say, I am responsible. And we can blame our parents, we can blame society, we can blame, our hangnail or whatever, but when it really comes down, push comes to shove, there has to come, because if you're not taking that responsibility, that means that somebody else is responsible for your success. If they're responsible for your failure, then they're responsible for your success. And are you going to sit and wait for somebody to make you successful? You see what I'm saying? So there does come a point in time where you have to say, I am responsible. And, a leader that I used to listen to a lot quite a few years ago, he made this statement over and over again, that you get what you are, not what you want. You get what you are, not what you want. And you have certain wants, Christine, what you was talking about, you have these wants, but if in the back of your mind you have that doubt, then you've got two opposing forces taking place inside of your mind, and to reach that point where it's, I am 100% sold out, this is the greatest business opportunity, or this is the greatest whatever, there's nothing that can touch this, and if you don't get involved with this, then you're maybe less than intelligent or whatever, but you have to be sold out. And you have to sell yourself one more time that, hey, I'm here and I did what I did and I did what I can do. And if you don't get involved with me, the train slows down, but it never stops. The train's moving on, and get it on down the highway, because you can't rest your success on showing it to somebody that doesn't buy your program. You go look for somebody that will buy your program. And you keep on keeping on, and don't stop, don't quit, don't back up. Just keep on getting it on down the highway, and take that possession of your own mind that this is the greatest thing, and whether you get in or whether you don't makes no difference to me, because I'm going to do it anyway, with or without you. I hope you come along, but if you don't, sayonara, sucker, and call it good. So, anyways, I'm done.
Wow, that's pretty good. Oh, Catherine, you go first, please.
No, go ahead, Danielle.
We're so generous with one another. I love it. Great points this morning, Jason. Everything you just said, wow, right on point. And I agree with you, Dan. You get what you are, not what you want. I actually have that written up on my board, on my war board, just like you have one on yours there. And it's a great statement to remember. And again, back to this book, that applies not only in business, that applies to all areas of your life. And sometimes we don't even recognize that these are the areas. So one of my hopes in being part of these panels is spreading this out there so that we help more people. They need to read books like this sometimes. They need to listen to calls like this sometimes, because they don't even realize this is the reason why their life is where it's at. Nobody's had the ability to say to them, quit blaming your parents and the government and your school and your dog and your brothers and sisters, and take responsibility. Nobody's actually ever said that to them. They've never heard those words before, so they don't realize that's why they behave or feel the way that they do. So this is a great forum for us to not only talk about these subjects, but to explain why it is. We're all smiling. We've all been through it. So, but we also have the mentality that Dan has, and that's I really believe that's why we're all on here. Our trains don't completely stop; they keep moving. Either they're going, and so I'm excited for not only us sharing this with you, but for everybody listening.
Yes, it's the trains can't stop. The only thing we really have control over is how we respond to these things. Obviously we're all from different backgrounds, different ages, different everything, and we've all experienced these same misguidings, misleadings, unintentional or intentional, however they came about. But we have our choice every day, and that's all we have. And we can take those people that are maybe not supporting us like we would like, and we can either use that as an excuse, which is basically all it is, right? Or we can use that as fuel. I guess that was the rebellious part of me. I always use that as fuel. If somebody said you can't do that, let me show you how I can't do that. I was on it then. When they said you can't go to college as a high school dropout, watch this shit, and then, so just take it. That's your choice. That's the only thing we have is free will. Use it. It's God's gift to you. And I just want to thank everybody. I know this book is fantastic, and we're going to have an awesome time with this book. And thank you everyone for coming. Dan Sissick, we're going to miss you for the next couple of weeks. And I hope you have a wonderful trip, and God bless you for what you're doing. Thank you everybody for coming.
Well, Catherine took my final word. And so I'll just leave it at this. And I heard Lisa Nichols a few weeks ago, and she was saying, sometimes some activity, some motivation that you need can't come from a cheerleading session. It can't come from, a book or nothing. Some motivation you need just needs to be that don't believe me, just watch motivation. The first and only song of Bruno Mars that I really love, but sometimes you just got to be like, don't believe me, just watch. You ain't got to support me, just watch.
Everybody has made so many awesome and amazing comments and shared such great insights with this, and I just want to kind of wrap this up by saying the first step is this week is all about the first step, which is recognizing where all of this negative programming came from, because if you don't recognize it in the first place, you can't take responsibility for yourself from from this point forward and move forward. So and that's the way it works with everything. In everything, that first step is recognizing there's a problem, and then the next step is taking action and doing something about it, right? So that's what we're going to be working on next week is going into chapter 2 of this book. So if you guys have not gotten your copy, go ahead and jump over to Amazon. If you look in the description for this event on this page, we have a link where you can go over there and get the book for as little as a penny, you know, with plus shipping and handling. And of course, if you use the link for our link, then Mindset Mastery Collective will earn a slight commission from anything you purchase on Amazon from that point on, and we appreciate that because your contributions can help us grow this community larger and help more and more people. And just as an additional thing on the side is that we are in the process of putting together a website, and if you'd like to kind of keep updated on what we've got going on, I'm going to share a link here on the page as well as in our community where you can go to a web page I set up on my personal website that's just going to kind of give you some information, give you the opportunity to subscribe to our list and keep updated with us. And also, we're looking for some donations and some volunteers to help us get our website going. So if you have any kind of knowledge along that way, there's kind of a list on that page that tells you what we're looking for. And then from there, we'll just meet you back here next week at SaturdayMorningMastermind.com. We may be actually on our website. If everything goes as I hope that it will, we'll be having at least the beginnings of our website going next week. So with that, guys, have a great, awesome, and amazing weekend. Go ahead and follow our page, Mindset Mastery Collective, on Google+. Join our community, which is MindsetMasteryCollective.com. Follow us or subscribe to us on YouTube, like our videos, share them, all those kinds of things. We love you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. See you next week. Bye for now.